Hi everyone, my name is Jan Compuesto, BSEE 4A, reporter number 15, and I am here to report about contract specification and engineering relation in chapter 2, which is success in engineering profession. Success in engineering profession. So it begins in personal success. So what is personal success? Success in life, like success in the construction of engineering structure that requires a good and proper foundation on which to build. So when we talk about success, success is measured by many means in many ways. The best success is not measured by wealth or great power, nor by the greatest amount of ideal pressure. The pursuit of any of these single purposes does not result in the greatest happiness. The greatest success result from well-balanced life and should usually include first, suitable friend and family relation. For the greatest success does not come with solitude. So when you have a suitable relation of your friend and family, so it feels like you are comfort in both times of joy and distress. Relationship is a strong protective factor against mental illnesses and help to increase our mental well-being. Remember, the greatest success does not come with solitude. You cannot have the greatest success if you are alone. So, second, sufficient income for the comfort of the individual, his family, and dependent, and to permit him to help those philanthropic movement in which all should take part. Third, a good personal, professional, and business reputation in his life work. Fourth, the respect of his friend and associate. And fifth, self-respect or the personal approval for his own conscience resulting from the proper observance of personal religions and ethic conviction. Success in engineering. Factor of success must be recognized. The attributes described in section 7 must be both acquired and properly exercised. They must develop in the individual those certain habits of industry and traits of characters which are demanded and professional and businessmen by their employers, client and associate, and without which the individual will be at a great disadvantage in the practical affairs of life. The successful solution of any problem depends on both comprehensive knowledge and a proper application of all of the factors in which the solution depends. In order, therefore, to succeed in the various problems of professional and business life, it is no less essential that all of the factors of success shall be duly appreciated and given the proportionate weight which the impedance demands. Which might be written on any of many factors of success, but only a brief discussion on some of the most important seems warranted. Common sense and judgment must extend the list of supply further details. If a limited discussion is not sufficient to convince a man of the essential nature of the characteristic discussed, the further elaboration would result only in waste of both space and time. The man who will win success will be able to recognize its essential elements without extended discussion. Opinion of the profession. Opinion of engineering profession. For some years, a joint committee of engineering education from the National Technical Society of the United States has been investigating engineering education, and by arrangement with the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, a detailed investigation has been undertaken to determine the qualification necessary for success engineering work. In the spring of 1915, letters were sent to the members of all the National Technical Society requesting individual opinion on the essential characteristic of engineer. A report was made in spring of 1916 as a result of this investigation, in which the essential factors were summarized into 6 groups, which were numbered into order the importance and determined by the frequency of their occurrence in about 1015 replies. In the basis of this preliminary work, a new letter was sent out to the member of the society, asking for further consideration of 6 characteristic groups previously outlined. To this letter, 5,441 replies were received sufficient definite for qualification. From this letter, the most probable value of the relative importance of this group of qualities were computed with the following result, which seems to indicate a rather definite ideal and the professional engineer as the characteristic necessary for the greatest success. So, the revised and the original rating of the letter, I will show it in the screen. It must not be understood that any single arrangement of these 6 groups actually indicate the views of the professional men as the essential characteristics of engineer. For each and every position, for it is manifest that each individual should have the essential characteristic developed to the greatest advantage for the particular position which he occupies. Each must be capable of proper performance of his duty, and his lack of essential characteristic is necessarily fatal to his success. The mental use in engineered constructions are in most cases alloys and consist of combination of various elements, some of which are essentials and some of which are considered impurities. Nevertheless, each element, whenever its character has amount of particular influence on the character of alloys, if any is missing of any chance, the entire characteristic of alloy and make is unfit for some particular use. For the greatest usefulness in any particular place, each element must be present to the extent needed. In the same manner of many may be useless in the engineering position, even though his character, judgment, efficiency, and understanding of men may be high developed, unless he has a proper knowledge of the fundamentals of engineering science and the technique of practice, and yet at all professional position which involve fiduciary relations. Judgment. The very keystone of successful engineering practice is judgment. The development of judgment requires personal investigation, personal consideration, and personal conclusion, and should be based on a well-balanced appreciation of both theory and practice. In the development of judgment, the dicta of instructors, the statement of textbook, and the opinion of the conclusion of others must questioned, and can be accepted only when satisfied the fullest inquiry and analysis. In other words, the engineer, in order to develop his judgment, must learn to think for himself, to form and hold opinions of his own, and to base those opinions on a substantial, comprehensive, and thoughtful consideration of both theoretical principle and practical result. So, analysis, problem solving, mathematical problem, theory, and all the struggle that we are facing now is the key to develop our thinking capability, to decide our own decision, and the way to become a successful engineer. Personal bias, that all men are the greater or less degree biased in their judgment of themselves and of others and of all problems and conditions with which they come in contact is established by common experience. This bias is due to their individuality, their association, their local individual experience, their education and special knowledge, and their personal interests. That this bias is possessed by others and injurious affect their judgment is easily recognized. It is more difficult for the individuals to recognize such bias in themselves. It is, however, most important for the engineer to recognize his own bias and to provide for it by elimination so far as possible, and by the same factor of safety which he applies to other uncertainties to acquire his knowledge is perhaps the most difficult in the practical education of engineer. So, we have bias of special knowledge, bias of personal experience, bias of local experience, bias of personal interest, and bias of association. Personality. The personality of the individual is of great importance and has a marked effect on his advancement. Good appearance, good address, proper self-confidence, and self-respect, the evidences of intelligence and energy, the ability of proper expression, of proper consideration of the feelings and right of others, mark the man for higher position and better things. Great ability and high technical knowledge and training may hold respect through the personality is unfavorable, but such respect is given not because of such personality, but in spite of it. So, personality, it show your personal appearance, punctuality, attention to business, concentration. So, in personal appearance is also worthy of consideration for impression are based on appearance which is strongly indicate of character. Punctuality, lack of punctuality is due to heedlessness, carelessness, lack of concentration, of which is a serious detriment to the individual prospect. So, attention to business. He should devote his attention to his legitimate work. Concentration. The ability to concentrate one attention on the immediate problem for concentration is primary requisite for success. Professional improvement. In order to grow and to develop, the engineering must acquaint himself with ideas and activities of others who are working on his own field. It is therefore essential that the young engineer should mingle with his fellow and compare his idea with those of others in professional line. He should early associate himself with those technical societies before which those problems of engineering in which he is particularly or generally interested are discussed, and he should at least listen to or read the papers and discuss of others, both in the society proceeding and the technical papers, in order that he may gain a proper idea of current engineering and practice and judge and appreciate the limitation of his own ability. So, young engineer most should seek information on the various phases of engineering work. This is to develop individual ability, opportunity to improve your work as an engineer. So, that's all. Thank you and God bless.